Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy and welcome back to Chazzy, the segment on this channel where I review the many TV shows that I watch, whether they're old or new or classic or modern, and those four words are synonyms. Some of them mean the literal same thing, but I insist on repeating that same intro because I have it memorized now at this point. In case you guys haven't noticed, I've been doing a lot of Star Wars content on my channel lately, and my first Chazzy of the year is going to follow suit because I'm going to be talking about Star Wars Clone Wars Volume 1. If you're a Star Wars fan, you know about the whole animated Clone Wars thing way before the actual series came out in the latter part of the 2000s. So this one actually ran on Cartoon Network in the early 2000s, but I'm going to be talking about specifically the DVD set, which was released in 2005, which was comprised of the first two seasons. Because the first two seasons had very short episodes that were about 3 to 5 minutes long. It really wasn't that hard to create this compilation here for a DVD. I actually do have both of them. I have the original animated DVDs, Volume 1 and Volume 2, and essentially it was a way to bridge a lot of the big gap that was left between Star Wars Episode 2 and Episode 3, and we see kind of like let's say the adventures. It kind of makes it sound like Indiana Jones or something, We see the adventures, let's say, of the Jedi Order, the Republic as they fight against the Separatists, the CIS, which is the Confederacy of Independent Systems, and also the Sith. We see a little bit of Count Dooku and Emperor Palpatine, We see some characters that would eventually go on to become actual main staple protagonists in the movies themselves, We are also introduced to General Grievous for the first time, so it's a very nice tie-in to the Star Wars lore. It was, of course, produced and it was directed and produced by George Lucas, who of course had a big hand in it, but it was primarily done by Genndy Tartakovsky. How do I pronounce this guy's name? Genndy Tartakovsky. He was the main developer there with help from George Lucas. He is the same guy who made animated shows like, Powerpuff Girls and Dexter's Laboratory, Samurai Jack. So Clone Wars follows that very same animated style, so it actually looks really good, Volume 2, of course, looks better, but I really enjoy getting to know more about the characters and seeing certain Jedi, going after the CIS with amazing individual campaigns, and a lot of characters that we don't see too much in the movies are very more fleshed out here in the series. It's really cool. Of course, there are a few less than stellar moments, that I'm gonna get to later, but it's not exactly perfect, but I did like it a lot, and it still holds up today. I think it really is very watchable today, a lot of fun, and it originally aired on Cartoon Network, way back in the day when I was a kid watching cartoons there, so they were the ones that originally aired it on TV. I believe it was mostly part of like this Friday night lineup where they show different cartoons and stuff, so still holds up today. I'm not sure if anything that happens in Clone Wars is canon, but still, it's awesome. Before I continue, let's take a look at a clip here from the first volume.
The dark side is strong in me, for I am Sith.
Sith have no fear, and I sense much fear in you.
You probably felt your nostalgic bones tingling there all over your body, man. God, it's been awesome since I've seen this show. And it's cool because they actually combine different elements, of CGI. Like, the entire show itself was pretty much based around a two-dimensional animation, 2D. But there were a few sequences that used 3D, like when they made the starships and stuff, it actually looked really cool. It's a very good blend of stuff there. And now, it begins with Obi-Wan, starting his campaign in the Separatist planet of Munilist, which is actually where the Republic is setting up their assault against the intergalactic banking clan, and that is actually where we are introduced to Dorge, who is an epic badass, 1,000-year-old bounty hunter, who pretty much, puts Jango Fett and Boba Fett to shame, He and Obi-Wan have a few squaffles here and there. He's really good at killing Jedi, and the show really shows him to be pretty much indestructible. Obi-Wan defeats him, cuts off his limbs, but he regenerates and comes back, Then, they fight again, and Obi-Wan uses the Force to explode him after getting swallowed, but then it shows him, retreating, so he's probably gonna regenerate later and come back elsewhere, you know. He never does return, but still, very epic character. I like him a lot, you know. We also see, in no particular order, we see Kit Fisto, who is a Jedi who actually died in episode 3 very quickly, you know. He's actually an aquatic dwelling being, so we see him actually leading the Republic, you know, with these special, let's say, aquatic troopers, you know, to actually help the Mon Calamari Council to defeat the droids, you know. So we see that really awesome underwater sequence of him using a lightsaber in the Force. How the hell a lightsaber works underwater, I will never know, but it is a cartoon, so whatever, you know. And we see other campaigns, though. We see a lot of character development for Obi-Wan and Anakin, their relationship dynamics blossoming, you know, and there are a few other moments here that make us think that it's that, you know, the Republic really is relishing in their new army. You know, the ARC troopers, which is a special class of clone troopers, are going to attack the Separatists, you know, and it shows them using their specialized training to get to their target. You know, it's really, really cool. A lot of awesome gunshots and explosions and stuff and lightsaber action. So everything just happens parallel. You know, we see a lot of different action sequences that were really well scripted for the time. You know, I actually think it's really cool, you know, how they kind of implemented a lot of the actual lore from the movies into this series here, you know. So we see a lot of dynamics play out in the first volume, you know. It's basically a lot of lengthy battles here and there, because it's pretty much like the aftermath of the Battle of Geonosis, so that's what we're actually following here. And then after we see a few of these things happen, still in volume 1, we see the introduction of Asajj Ventress, you know, who is found by Count Dooku in a gladiator arena defeating all the enemies. Apparently she's Force sensitive and she hates the Jedi, and then she actually has a little squabble with Dooku, who not only defeats her but gives her 2 red lightsabers, you know, and introduces her to Darth Sidious. So she essentially becomes a Sith Lord or a Sith apprentice. She becomes a Sith to some degree, although it is revealed that Dooku is just using her as a pawn to go after Anakin Skywalker, you know. So yes, we also see her becoming the primary villain and the antagonist there. Eventually she does meet up with Anakin, and he chases her, you know, after having a lengthy space battle, and that actually transitions into volume 2. Transitions into season 2. Season 2 continues a lot of the formula from the first one, but it actually has a few more cool moments, you know. Like we see, for example, Mace Windu being such an indomitable badass, you know, because he is actually leading an assault on Dantooine against the droid army. But at one point he loses his lightsaber, so he literally goes hand to hand. He starts punching the droids and forcing them all over the place, you know, and kicking. He is an incredible, apparently a combat master, you know. He does martial arts, so it would have been amazing to see Samuel Jackson do some of this in the movies, you know, but unfortunately we never got that, you know. So yeah, he brings down an entire vessel by himself, you know, like this weird little ore mining rig, and then he finally finds his lightsaber, kills all the droids. He's like a literal one-man army, you know. At one point he even goes up a hill and this little boy gives him a canteen of water to drink and he goes back, you know. We also see Yoda. You know, there are 2 Jedi who were in distress, which is Luminara and her Padawan, Barriss Offee. You know, they are trapped in a cave while they were making lightsabers with crystals. So Yoda senses them, he goes to rescue them with Padme, and then we see her using C-3PO as bait. For example, C-3PO and R2-D2 are also in this, you know, it's really cool to see them. And they go and rescue the Jedi, this and that. A few other things happen here and there, but of course in Volume 2, it's actually really interesting because why do I keep saying Volume 2, man? In Season 2, damn it. In Season 2, we actually see quite a few elements, you know, of combat play out, but the most impressive one is when Anakin tracks down Asajj Ventress to Yavin 4, you know, and after completely depleting his clone trooper forces, they just fight one-on-one. It's a very epic battle, very well staged and animated, so they actually they start fighting their way, you know, to the Masasi Temple, where Anakin defeats her by tapping into his anger and his rage, you know, which of course is what eventually leads him to becoming Darth Vader, and it is assumed that she dies because she falls down to this dark crevice, you know, so we are led to assume that she just perishes, you know, but it's not explicitly stated. But still, it was a very good battle, and it shows Anakin's, you know, hatred festering inside of him, you know. He returns home eventually, and I do believe, I don't remember if it was in this volume or the next one where he becomes a Jedi Knight, but that happens at some point. At the very end, we are introduced to this new droid general who is giving a lot of grief to the Republic army, you know, and there are a few Jedi who come up against him. You know, we have Ki-Adi-Mundi, Shakti, and Aayla Secura, among others, and we find out that it's General Grievous, and we are going to be segueing into that in Volume 2, and I review that later. But for now, let's take a look at another clip here from Volume 1.
Master, I know you don't think I'm ready for a command of my own.
Your skills have never been in question. It is your maturity. banking clan has hidden huge factories on Unilist, building huge droid armies and massive warships. We must act quickly.
I agree. But who to send?
Lead the assault, Master Obi-Wan can.
Yes, and young Skywalker as well. His exceptional skill will be quite useful.
The funny thing about this Clone Wars animated series is that it was conceived literally just because the action figures from the prequels were underselling, you know, because at this point we already had the Phantom Menace, you know, and also Attack of the Clones, so there was just one more movie to go in the prequel, and apparently the merchandising wasn't very strong, so that's why George Lucas decided to create this series, you know, which, I mean, hey, all power to him, you know. I mean, he thought more of the capitalist side of it, so it's all good, there's nothing too wrong with it, you know, but the series itself is a very satisfying tie-in, you know, to what happens in the Star Wars universe, you know, the actual EU, the expanded universe. I'm not entirely sure if Disney considers it to be canon anymore. I think that there was even a petition some time ago to put it back in, so I don't think they do, but it has been said that the battle between Anakin and Asajj Ventress is still canon in a certain way, you know, like a different, cooler way, I don't really know, but one of the bones that I have to pick with this series is that they did not get the actual voice actors, you know, the actual actors who played the characters in the movies to do the voices, you know, which I can understand some of them are, you know, very busy and famous and maybe they don't want to take time out of their schedules to, you know, do something animated, but still, man, I think it was really weird, you know, because we had Matt Lucas voicing Anakin Skywalker, and even though it's not so different from Hayden Christensen, it still felt weird, you know. There was James Arnold Taylor voicing Obi-Wan Kenobi. It wasn't so bad. He did kind of nail a little bit, but it still felt a little strange, you know. There was Tom Kane doing Yoda. I mean, it's really hard to think of Yoda as not being Frank Oz, but, you know, there was also Terrence Carson as Mace Windu, even though he speaks very, very little, you know. And then later we also had Anthony Daniels, like I think the only actor from the original movies who came to voice, you know, his own character was Anthony Daniels as 3PO. Then we had Corey Burton who voiced two characters, you know, Sam Hill and also Count Dooku. And we had like this. I really do enjoy the work of this next actress, Grey DeLisle, you know, but I really like her, you know. I know her more as Daphne from Scooby-Doo. She has done hundreds of voices, you know, but it still felt weird having her voice Padme, you know, and also Asajj Ventress and also Shaak Ti and Stas Sailey, you know. It's like she did a whole lot of voices, you know, and it just, I don't know, but still. We also had Nick Jameson voicing, you know, Palpatine and Darth Sidious. You know, some of these characters only show up with speaking lines in Volume 2, but I'm giving you guys the full cast here, you know. There were a few others, but they're not as important, you know. But essentially, the show tried to take a very, very good premise, you know, which is kind of giving us more content related to Star Wars. So that's why I like it so much. You know, I think it did a pretty good job of bridging the gap, even more so when it connected, you know, perfectly with Volume 2, which I'm going to review later. That's why this video here is so short, because it's sort of like splitting up, you know, dividing into half, you know, this one and Volume 2. But this one here, honestly, because I'm a pretty big Star Wars fan and I did enjoy it a lot, you know, I think that it did a really good job of what it set out to do at the time, you know, but there were still a few glaring flaws. I really wish I could have seen more, and a lot of the animation was very cringy, didn't age very well, so, but I didn't hate it. It was really nice, very entertaining. I am going to be giving Star Wars Clone Wars Volume 1 a 7 out of 10. That is my final rating. I am very critical of the things that I like, you know. Maybe Volume 2 will get a higher one because it was a little better, it was more epic and dramatic, you know. But this one was special. This one was nice, you know, setting up a few different events for the other movies and showing us more background and development for the characters. You know, I enjoyed it, but I'm going to be giving you much more detail in the next review whenever that comes out, because I'm also going to do Volume 2, so stick around for that. And I think that's it, guys, you know. I liked it. It was nice. Very good animation, very good story, pacing, characters, and dialogue, you know, but it just felt lacking a little bit, you know, and it's all good. And that's it, guys. This is a very short Telechazzy, but hopefully you enjoyed it. You know, it's very nice to talk about Star Wars in any capacity, and I can't wait to do Volume 2. If you guys, and if you didn't watch either of these, well, spoiler alert, maybe a little bit too late now, but still, there it is. And that is it, guys. If you happen to like this video, please go ahead and give it a like, and also subscribe to my channel because I release videos every single day. And while you're at it, do hit the notification bell so you can know exactly what time I upload, huh? And it's all good, baby. It's all good. Anyway, guys, this is Chazzy signing out for now. Stay tuned for all of my other Star Wars content, you know, coming, because there's still a lot more to do. And yes, this is Chazzy signing out for now. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Ow, my hand. Roll the outro screen, volume 1 of the outro screen.